fiddler who is, let me see, 41, I believe. And here we see Boris Gelfand, the oldest player in the tournament, 48 years old, against the youngest player, Grigory Oparin, 19 years old. Oparin was the qualifier from a tournament in Moscow in December. And youngest competitor here. He's had a few reverses recently. But let's see what we've got on the board. As I said, we're struggling to get the graphics on the board at the moment, but don't worry, I've got technicians running around at the moment trying to fix the problem. So this tournament has many sponsors. It's hosted by the Schachgesellschaft Zurich, the Chess Society of Zurich, which has a very long tradition. Now, here we see Gelfand's position with the white piece. He's got that queen in the center of the board. At the moment, Oparin is a pawn up. That pawn on c4. And Gelfand has played knight g5 to attack the bishop on e6. Oparin seems to be in his home prep. He's playing pretty quickly. The bishop has dropped to d7. Now, is he going to take on c4? We shall see. It looks as though Oparin knows what he's doing here. We can see Boris with his trademark hand flicky. You'll see he's flicking his hand there, and he normally holds a piece in his hand and flicks it up and down. I remember having said that, the bishop can come to f6 to cover a lot of these knight squares. We can see the players there. Boris having a think. Oh, we've got one more move. Oparin has played the queen back to c7, which looks at a5 and looks at f4. Well, that's a shocker. Threatening the pawns simultaneously. Well, the 19-year-old from Moscow might well have come up with rather a good idea. Has Boris overlooked this simple double attack? He's looking a bit nervous. His face is getting redder and redder. The 48-year-old can't stand the strain. Let's see. I've got faith in Boris. There we go. I love the way he moved. I love the way he moved. The determination. Knight e5. Don't mess with Boris. That knight has swung into e5. Now this is starting to get very tricky. Let's just imagine that Oparin takes the pawn on a5. Now I'm just looking at some squares down here, and I'm just wondering whether that knight fly into g6, hitting the bishop. And then rook here, and then is it time to take here? No. Okay, I'm going over the top as usual. Take on e7. It's not completely clear. It's still not absolutely clear. I'm probably overlooking something. It's not exactly clear. Instead, I should say, what's Oparin played? He's taken on c4. I can see that. Oparin has just taken on c4. Well, that's probably very sensible. Instead of allowing all this knight g6 nonsense, he's just taken on c4. And if knight takes, then he can scoop the pawn on f4. And if pawn takes, then he scoops the pawn on a5. And Boris has recaptured with the queen. Well, I'm as materialistic as the Nets man. And let's take on a5. And let's see. Clock times, I can see Oparin has 17 minutes remaining. Gelfand has 11, if I'm not mistaken. The digital clock is somewhat in the shadows, but it looks right to me. Okay, we have to consider knight g6. Is this move legal? It's definitely legal. Is it any good? So rook and bishop attacked. So if we play here, now very important to note that if knight takes, then the rook is still defended by the queen, but then we take on c5. Draw. Job done. So that's what might happen if queen a5. Or an alternative could be knight here, and then we come back again to attack f7. And I don't see a good defense apart from coming back. And we have a draw by repetition. I can see a mild look of disappointment on some of the faces in the crowd here. I mean, the question is there anything better, actually? I don't see it. So that's the position on the board, and Oparin is weighing up his options here. He could take on a5, but it seems to me that Gelfand can just liquidate to a draw in that case. But I'm wondering whether Oparin might think, okay, maybe, whoops, let's just take that colour off the board. Bishop f6, excuse me. Looking at the knight on e5, because there are two slightly vulnerable pawns here. Okay, this one has been protected now. But for example, if that knight were to move, then this would be happy days for black. Because once that bishop sinks in on the dream square d4, then everything has gone right. But that's the situation. So bishop f6. Well, it looks to me as though Oparin has got over his difficulties in this game. It was very cramped at the start, but he's definitely played his way out of trouble. So I think both these moves are possible. Bishop f6, and I think he can actually take on a5 as well. But bishop f6 is, it looks to me, if he wants to try and increase the tension, or maintain the tension in the game, then bishop f6 could be the move. Okay, let's switch game. We haven't looked at... Okay, let's... While we're waiting for Kramnik to move, let's just switch back to Gelfand against Oparin. And in this position, Oparin traded, and well, he's making life difficult. So Boris has to defend here. Whoops. I misfired again. The mate here. So he's played h3. And now Oparin has taken on b4. And Gelfand has recaptured. Material still even. This looks very drawish to me. Should be a draw, I think. I would anticipate Queen d5. And I can't see any other result. I think they've hammered away at and exchanged off so many pieces that it must be a draw here. Boris straining away. But it's Oparin's move here in this position. Yeah, also Dame zentralisieren, das can't even move because the queen would take it. I mean, even objectively here, I suspect that white has zero advantage. I mean, I don't have a computer assessment to hand, but really objectively, I would find this very hard to believe that white has any advantage. I think we have a result. We have a result in Gelfand against Oparin. And in this position, Oparin played Queen c7. Gelfand defended the pawn on e5, and with that move, he also offered a draw, which was clearly accepted. So that's our first result of the day. Oldest in the tournament, 48-year-old Boris Gelfand, playing the youngest in the tournament, 19-year-old Grigori Oparin, and we have a draw. Okay, let's move back up to